Okay, this is just how you're supposed to add Frontier Brains. There is a slight bug because the way it handles win speech, lose speech at the end of the battle, and the beginning for that matter, is handled separately within this method, PB generate battle trainer. So it won't spew out the right text, but you can get it to work. So if you head to your PBS folder and you go to BT trainers, this displays every single default battle tower trainer. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it stops at 299. So what you can do is add a new one, which I added multiple ones, but let's just start with the first one. Call it 300, and just copy paste probably like the previous one, and then using a new trainer type, which I call tower because it's going to be for the battle tower, you just create your new one of whatever you want. So in this case, I am literally doing Lucy from Emerald, Pike Queen Lucy, as my battle tower Frontier Brain. That's just because I don't have a battle pike at this frontier that I have in my game. So what you can do is write down the line number within BT Pokemon.txt of the Pokemon you want them to randomly choose from. So as you can see, all the ones that are in like 299, for example, like they just have a crap ton that she selects from, but a typical Battle Frontier person has specifically 3. So if I scroll down to the bottom here, I made Lucy have these 3 specific ones. Notice you can't tell what line number this is. What you have to do is you have to use Notepad++, which I use for a lot of coding stuff. It's really helpful. It color codes things when you're writing and stuff like that. But you can see on the side here, if I scroll all the way to the bottom, that my low tick is 883, Shuckle's 884, and the Seviper I added is 885. So I'm just going to close that. Those are the numbers I was going to put in here, but you actually have to do one less because it counts line 1 as line 0. So what Notepad++ thinks is line number 1, the game actually registers as 0. So 883 is actually 882. 884 is actually 883, and 885 is actually 884. So those are the 3 I picked there, and then I just went through some of the default ones, and I just nabbed a few of them for my other ones. So that's what you're supposed to do to actually like set them up the way that they're supposed to be. Obviously you can set up a trainer type, you know how to do that. This is the part that doesn't work. The begin speech, the end speech win, and the end speech lose. It's handled separately with a message generation. I'm still working on the bug fix for that. But in your scripts, you go to P battle, org battle, go down to about line 927 until you find this method. And what you're going to do is set an if statement if the trainer ID constant is greater than 299. So it's going to be basically anything above default, provided you aren't changing the default ones. Just set it to subtract any random number between 0 and 298 and add 1. So what this does is that every time it calls this method, it checks to see if the ID it randomly generated already from a previous method is going to be greater than 299, which is anything above default. If it's the case, it's going to redo that generation with a random number below it. And the reason we're doing +1 is because the rand function here will include 0, and just so it's not 0, you just add 1. In worst case, if it picks 298, adding 1 just makes it 299 and you're still okay. Here's the next part. So now even if we're facing our Frontier Brain, or like you're intended to face the Frontier Brain, that's going to happen anyway. But now the game's going to check if you have a specific switch set to true. So I'm going to show you in my arena here. I'll get into what you have to change in the events in a moment. But you're going to create a switch that says, hey, we should battle the Frontier Brain now. So in this case I chose 987, I just called it Frontier Switch Don't Touch. And just check if it's true in its own if statement. If it is true, then we're going to set up another if statement, and this one is going to depend on which facility you're at. So in this case, I'm pretty sure 987 is my battle arena. Let me double check. Yeah, it is. Okay. So we're going to have a variable that tracks the amount of wins you have at a facility. And in this case, I chose 987 for my arena. I called it arena wins. Now, by default, any given Battle Frontier facility will use rounds of 7. So you'll fight 7 trainers, and then you'll be able to basically leave and walk away retaining those 7 wins. And then you can go for another 7, and whatever. So in my case, I picked 34. So basically, what this means is you've completed 4 sets of 7, and then you've completed 6 of the next set. So you've completed almost 35. So this will basically say, on the 35th battle, now that you have 34, going into the 35th battle, set trainer ID to 302. So in my case, 302 in bttrainers.txt is my arena tycoon for the battle arena. So this number here corresponds to the trainer ID. Then it says else if, which is like instead of doing else and then end and then a different if statement sort of thing, you just do else if, and you do the exact same thing for your next one. In this case, 991, that one is for my battle pyramid, and I only make you clear it 10 times, and then it sets the next one to be 301, which is my battle pyramid king. And you just do them for however many facilities you have, and on your final else if statement, just end it. Simple as that. So that just handles what like the way that we're doing this instead of using regular trainer battles is because we want them to follow the facility's rules. So for the battle arena, for example, you have like 3 rounds to fight a Pokemon, and if you don't defeat it, then it's going to judge you based on mind, body, and skill. And we want the Frontier Brain to be affected by those rules. So the reason we're doing it the way that we're doing it is so that they are technically a battle tower trainer, and I don't have to do any fancy shenanigans. It's just going to literally pull them up as if they're like any other trainer. So once you've done that, go to your facilities entry guide person, and you can set it to whatever you want, 50, whatever, however many rounds you're choosing, doesn't matter. You can leave the first page completely blank of any variable or switch changes. Then, on your inside auto run guide, what's going to happen here is down at label next opponent, it's going to have this like changing the challenge graphic. It'll make the opponent go through and do their begin speech. But I can't figure out what's wrong with the begin speech. And I'm not sure how Battle Challenge graphic gets the graphic, the correct one, given the trainer ID. So what I did was I said if the switch for the Frontier Brain is turned off, do the normal shit, which is this. But if it is on, then it's going to specifically change the opponent to a specific graphic. In my case, it is a custom sprite for my Arena Tycoon, which I didn't create. This is actually a public asset. And then I just did like literal text as the begin speech instead of calling a variable based on this method. And then it'll end, and then PB Battle Challenge Battle will begin. So underneath where it says PB add win, you need to increase your facility specific variable by 1. So in this case, it's the arena, so every time you win, it goes up by 1. Then it's going to check if you're at that 34 threshold that I mentioned earlier that I'm using. You don't have to use 34, but I am. If it is at that 34 threshold, it's going to turn on the Frontier switch. At this point, you should have only faced 6 people in this set, so it's going to go to that next opponent label again, and this time the Frontier switch will be on and it'll do this properly and actually set up the Frontier Brain. And that way, Battle Challenge Battle picks the correct trainer ID, which will be the Frontier Brain. Now, in PB Match Over, this is when you've finished the last round, the 7th round. If you did have to fight the Frontier Brain, which would be when that switch is on, put a conditional branch here to say that that switch is on. Do what their after battle text would be, and then give them their frontier symbol. So in my case, I activate my symbols via a switch. I use 991 defeated arena. The reason for that is because I'm using Pokemon Island's metal case, and I just substituted the challenges for actual frontier symbols. So if I can just show you real quick what that graphic looks like. You've seen them before, but just to show you. So in my metal case, I have my my badges here, and this would be the one that you're getting at the arena, and it would appear in this UI menu that I have for a metal case. So besides that, once it's done that, it'll set the decision like normal and send you to the start. Everything else you leave basically the same, just default. Now, go back to your lobby guide, and on their second page, which checks to see if you're in the challenge still, which the way that this works is that when it teleports you from the other room, your challenge is still technically on, but you would have finished the challenge had the challenge started when you're in this room. So this is how it gets triggered. Turn off your frontier switch before any of the conditional branches. You can set up a specific, like, oh, you defeated the frontier brain, here's a master ball, and then turn it off after if you want. But then just make sure that you're putting this in the correct places that I'm going to show you below. But if lost or forfeited, set that person's like variable for their amount of wins to 0, and if you're doing that like frontier switch with the items above, then also turn it off here as well. And then scroll down to the bottom where this else statement is that says, excuse me, you didn't save. That just means the person quit the game, so they didn't lose or forfeit per se. They quit the game. So you do have to put another variable to 0 down here as well. Another thing you want to do is if you intend to have a silver and a gold medal, you need to elaborate on the things I've shown you so far to accommodate multiple different types of win streaks. And they have to be exact. They can't be greater than this or less than that. It has to be exact numbers. You'll notice that with all of my conditional branches and the coding I showed you earlier, it's equals 34. Not greater than or equal to, not less than or equal to, or anything like that. It has to be specific. And that way you can do bigger win streaks. But once they've defeated them the first time, when you turn on that switch, which in my case also gives you the symbol, you need to basically copy paste the original script for that event, a guide event, and have it on a second page with the condition of that switch. But then just remember to actually increase their variable. Maybe if you do like a tracker for how many battle wins you get or something like that. Like if you have achievements like I do with the metal case, then you could be like, get 100 wins at the battle arena, and there you go. It can be based on that variable. But yeah, that's what you would do. It applies to the Battle Palace. It applies to the Battle Tower. Just remember to do it on the singles in the Battle Tower and the Battle Palace. Don't do it on the doubles. Unless you can figure out a way to make it work for the doubles, I'm not going to bother. And then Battle Pyramid. If you want to know how to do a Battle Pyramid, let me know. It's a little more complex and involves dungeons. But it does work. I could show it to you if you want. But anyways, that's basically the only thing you really need to edit within the scripts. I don't think I'm missing anything there, as far as I'm aware anyway. Let me just have a quick scrub through, make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. Obviously, you can change. If you know what the bug fix is, you can change the begin speech, lose speech stuff to work properly. I haven't done that here in this video. Like the stuff that's defined here that says begin speech, it's not going to work. It's going to pull whatever it generated the first time. We only changed the trainer ID. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate it working. and you're going to have to bear with me with that, but I will show you it working. So I'm going to cut off my mic now, and you're just going to see a bunch of random shit. Okay, we're almost there. I had to set the variable to 28 because you would have completed 4 complete sets of 7 by then. And it only works if you face the Frontier Brain 7th in the 5th set for the numbers that I chose. Okay, here comes the Frontier Brain. This is Octavius, because that's what I named him. Impressive to come this far, but now I must break your focus. Let us begin. And I'll let you hear the music if you want. Okay, so as you will have noticed at the end there, his end speech was in full caps because, again, that is the bug. But in any case, this is it. And then you finish your challenge. In my case, I didn't do any special items for beating the Frontier Brain. And in my case, I do have a metal case. And I should have the Frontier badge. Oh, you know what? I know what's going on. That's just a problem with me being a developer. I set one of the switches wrong. Usually you get it, though. Anyways, that's basically it. If you have any questions, just PM me.